Hello everybody, happy Saturday. Not exactly a happy Saturday with what we're going to be talking about. You probably noticed I haven't been on in a while. You guys know I've been sick. I'm in my pajamas right now. But I watched the Tyre Nichols videos that were released yesterday, and I watched and rewatched and really thought about it, and I felt like this is not something that I can just let go without saying something about. And you guys know on my channel that I am a part of a military family, and I am pro law enforcement, but I am not above calling people out when they screw up. And if I see bad in the military, if I see bad in law enforcement, if I see bad in anything, I'm going to call it out. And this was beyond bad, what happened to this man. And I don't know if YouTube will leave my video up or not, because they don't like this kind of content, but I think it needs to be addressed. It's never okay. Yes, I rewatched it. I've watched it several times, and I've watched look, Shiloh's here. Can you guys just say hi to Shiloh, because she's driving me insane. Go away, Shiloh. When it happened with George Floyd, a lot came out about race. And I know I look like just some run-of-the-mill white girl, right? But I'm actually Native American, which a lot of you may or may not know. So technically I'm red. I have a lot of Cherokee blood in me. I say I'm an albino Indian because I am very white. I have 2 black nephews. I get it. I get the fear that is there, right? I think a lot about my nephews getting pulled over and what might they encounter. And after George Floyd, we were supposed to have all this reform, right? And apparently that didn't happen. But this happened, and this time 5 black officers were arrested for what they did to another black man. And that's just like a whole new level of low, right? But I think what really disturbed me the most was watching the video. There's way more than 5 people. There were way more than 5 officers there. In the initial stop, there is a white officer, and he wasn't arrested. And when you see the footage on the corner from the lamppost camera. And I'm not sure if it's after, because the fire department shows up before the paramedics show up. I hear a female's voice. And like I said, I've watched it, I've rewatched it, because I wanted to make sure. And I hear a distinctly female voice. There was no female arrested. And there have been 2 sheriff's deputies relieved of duty. They're not arrested yet. They have been relieved of duty. And it was because they were seen on the footage. You probably hear my husband and my daughter in the background. They're putting groceries away. It was grocery shopping day to day. But they were fist bumping. These sheriff's deputies. Fist bumping after what happened. And they have been relieved of duty. And I really, really hope charges are going to come. And it took nearly 20 minutes for the ambulance to get there. At what point they called the ambulance, I'm not sure. But it wasn't soon enough. But anyone in that video, in my opinion, if you're not helping or you're not trying to stop what's happening, you're part of the problem. And you deserve some kind of charges as well. I don't care if you were actually beating on this man or not. If you didn't try to help that man and you just stood there and watched, and then you laughed and you joked with your buddies afterwards, and you're fist bumping and you're comparing, fight stories with each other, you're just as much in the wrong. And there's going to be people out there that do not agree with me. And that's fine. I say it all the time on my channel. You don't have to agree with me. You don't. But this is wrong. This is wrong. This isn't necessarily about race this time. It's about these police officers on a power trip. They are not all bad people. And I feel bad for the cops out there that are good cops, that are doing it for the right reason, that are going to have to pay the price for dipshits like those down in Memphis. And all the dipshits that do this everywhere else. They don't deserve that. But they're going to pay the price because of the uniform that they wear. But something has to stop. I don't know how to fix it. I wish I knew how to fix it. But these guys are on a power trip. And they think they're above the law. When in reality, law enforcement officers should be held to a higher standard. And maybe that doesn't sound right, but I'm sorry. If you're enforcing the law, then by God, you should be expected to follow it just like everybody else to the letter of the law. They're there to protect and serve. They were not protecting nor serving Tyre at all. And it all starts with the initial stop. When I watched it, the first thing I said was like, whoa, what are they stopping this guy for? Why is there so much aggression from the jump? I mean, they come up on this guy in the way that they are like pulling him out of the car and they're yelling at him and all the stuff. I told my husband, you would think this guy committed like a mass shooting or killed another cop. And apparently it was supposed to be because of like erratic driving or something. Which, come to find out, even the chief of police is like, we can't find any evidence that he was driving badly. So why did they even pull him over in the first place? And to me, it scares me, and it should scare you It should scare everybody. I don't care if you are black, white, red, yellow, green, purple, whatever. It should scare you. When I get pulled over, you see lights in your rearview mirror, you automatically get nervous, like, oh man, I don't want to get a ticket. You know, like, nobody wants to deal with being pulled over by the police, right? And yeah, go ahead and be scared you're going to get a ticket. Now, after watching what happened to Tyre, if I get pulled over by the cops, I'm going to be afraid, like, am I going to get killed? And I'm not even kidding. If they could yank him out of his car when he wasn't even doing anything, okay, devil's advocate, let's say he did have erratic driving. Is that a reason to yank him out of the car and treat him the way that they did? Absolutely not. Now, he ran, and I'm going to get into that, but Jesus, I would have been scared enough to run as well. He didn't know what was going on. He wasn't being non-compliant. He was trying to do what they said, but you've got all these people yelling all this stuff at you, and it's complete chaos. You don't know what you've done. They're not telling you what you've done. It was madness. Absolute madness. And I'm not going to show you all of the clips, but I have little bitty clips of things that I think are important. And one of them is the initial stop. But before I show you that, I want to show you the interview with the chief of police where she flat out admits that it's a questionable stop to begin with.
Why is the video being released tonight? Are you worried that it's coming out on a Friday night?
Well, there was much discussion about when an appropriate time for the video to be released, George, and not just the Memphis Police Department, but with city administration and other agencies in the area. We felt that Friday would be better. We're taking into consideration the reaction of the community that could potentially take place, and ensuring that our schools, you know, are out. Most business folks would be on the way home on tomorrow.
Did you give any consideration at all to
or this evening, I'm sorry.
Right. Did you give any consideration at all to not releasing the video, given the concerns?
No, not at all. You know, as we continue to talk about transparency, and even though this is a very, very difficult video to watch, it was never a thought that we would not release this video. We wanted to make sure that it wasn't released too prematurely, because we wanted to ensure that the DA's office, the TBI, and also the FBI had an opportunity to cross some of the hurdles that they had to in their investigation. And we're sort of at a point now that the DA has made his statements in reference to charges of these officers that this is a safe time for us to release the video.
You say it's difficult to watch. What was your reaction when you first saw the video?
In my 36 years, George, I would have to say I don't think I've ever been more horrified and disgusted, sad, but just, you know, and to some degree confused.
Confused?
Yes.
Why?
You know, when I say confused, just in the level of aggression and response to what had occurred in this traffic stop, and it's still very unclear, you know, as to the real reason for the stop in the first place.
I guess part of your confusion must be rooted in the fact that your department did enact new policies in the wake of George Floyd's murders. What went wrong here?
Well, I think that there were several gaps that took place, and I'm just going to be honest. Anytime we have officers that are working in various types of units, and our police department, along with departments around the country, have specialized units, it's just important to make sure that there are supervisors that are where they're supposed to be during these types of operations. And, you know, individuals that are the right people that are in place that will act appropriately when these types of incidents occur. I believe there was a sense of groupthink in the mentality of what was happening. And it's just very unfortunate that nobody stepped forward to say enough.
You think it's possible that the initial stopping of the car was improper?
As far as I know today, I do believe that the stop itself was very questionable. We have been unable to verify the reckless driving allegation. There have been many searches of video footage, along the corridors of the streets that this stop supposedly occurred, or that the witnessing of reckless driving occurred. And we haven't been able to substantiate in any type of video that there was a reckless driving type of action that prompted this stop.
Did any of the police officers involved have prior criminal records?
No.
You're certain of that?
As far as I know, they did not. These officers were hired from 3 to 6 years is what their tenure was. But I'm not certain that there were any criminal charges on them. But I don't want to say for sure. But as far as I know, they didn't.
How's your department going to rebuild trust with the community in the wake of this?
This is going to be very difficult, for the police department. I've always been a supporter of police reform and the tenets of 21st century policing. And as we continue to try to build trust with our community, this is a very, very heavy cross to bear, not just for our department, but for departments around the country. Building trust is a day-by-day interaction between every traffic stop, every encounter with the community. We all have to be responsible for that now, and it's going to be difficult in the days to come.
Chief Davis, thanks for your time this morning.
Hell yeah, it's going to be difficult in the days to come. I saw in the chat about burning things down. I am all for protesting when something like this happens. Peaceful protesting, absolutely. Even Tyree's mom, though, was like begging people not to like burn down the city. And I know it's going to happen, but the damage and the violence and things like that, that's not how we're going to get justice for Tyre. It doesn't help the situation. It doesn't move things along. I know, you're so angry, and how do you channel that anger, right? But that's not the way. That's not the way to get to the ultimate goal here. We've seen it happen before, and it didn't get us where we wanted to be. So I'm praying that the protests don't get so far out of hand. But I mean, the cities have braced themselves, and they're ready. But now, trigger warning is up. I'm going to show the initial stop, not the really bad, but I want you to kind of try to put yourself in the driver's seat. Okay? Now, his mom said he had been out taking pictures of the sunset. That was his thing. That's what Tyre did every weekend. He loved sunsets. He was out taking pictures of the sunset, and he was coming home. And we know where the beating, where he ran to. He was about, I think his mom said, maybe 80 feet from his home. He was trying to go home. And another thing that I want to bring up before I play this video is that someone in Memphis said that in the days preceding this incident, there had been a news story that someone had been driving around and they had the blue lights on their car and they were dressed plain clothes, but they were pulling people over and they were posing as police, and they were removing people from their vehicles, and they were beating them, and they were robbing them. Now, a lot of these police officers in the video, they were wearing hoodies. I mean, it said they were police and what have you. But having that in mind, He's scared, right? Could that have been part of why he was so scared? I mean, anybody that this happens to is going to be terrified. But the level of aggression from the jump, I don't understand. Like I said, there's no evidence that he was driving erratically or whatever. You just heard that in the interview from the chief of police. But even if he was, number one, why so many people are coming to pull over this one guy, and why this level of aggression from the jump. So let's take a look at this initial stop and just kind of keep that in your mind.
You get your ass blown the fuck off! Get the fuck out the car! Get the fuck out the fucking car! Damn, I didn't do anything! Hey, I didn't turn your ass around! Alright. On the ground. You don't do that, okay? Get on the fucking ground! Get on the ground! Okay. Tase your ass! Alright, I'm on the ground. Lay down! Tap down! Please get on the ground! I think to tase you! Get on the ground! One! Now! Tase him! Alright, okay. Turn your bitch ass around. Break your shit. Okay, dude, damn! Turn the fuck around. Put your fucking hands behind your back! Bitch, put your hands behind your back while I break. Okay, stop. I'm gonna knock your ass the fuck out. You guys are really doing a lot right now. Bro, lay down. I'm just trying to go home. Lay down. Man, if you don't lay down. I am on the ground. Put your hands on your stomach. I got it. Swear. Okay. Get the fuck back. Stop! I'm not doing it. Please. Oh, shit.
I mean, why? Was any of that necessary? It blew my damn mind. And you hear him, they are like all amped up and they're yelling at him, and he is really remaining calm. Tyre is remaining calm. He's like, all right. Like, you know, he complies. He's on the ground and they're like yelling at him to get on the ground. And he's like, I am, you know, and he's like, you guys are really doing a lot. And they're cussing at him. And at one point he says, dang. He doesn't even say damn. He's not cussing back at them. He's not fighting them off. Nothing. And you've got all these people yelling 95 different things that they want you to do. And he's trying to comply. And like I said, he really kept his composure. He stayed very calm. He's being met with all of this aggressive verbiage. And he's like doing what cops should do, like de-escalate. He's staying very calm. He's staying very measured. I don't understand all this hostility and aggression from the police, especially if you're pulling the guy over for erratic driving. But then when you find out that he may not have been like erratically driving, why the hell did they pull this guy over in the first place? And if he wasn't doing anything, why all this freaking aggression? It makes no damn sense. Now I want to play this because this is how his mom found out. Bless this woman, she's amazing. But this is how his mom found out. And yes, they sprayed pepper spray, and yes, they tased him. But they seem to have left out a few details when they go and knock on his mom's door. So let's take a listen to this.
First learn about this. How did you hear?
The Memphis Police Department banged on our door approximately around between 8:30 and 9 o'clock, asking if I knew Tyre Nichols. And we said, yes. What's going on? He's been arrested. Arrested for what? DUI. DUI? My son don't drink like that. What do you mean DUI? Well, we had to pepper spray him and tase him, so He's being attended to by the paramedics, and we'll send him to the hospital. And then after that, he'll go to booking. What? They then asked me, was he on any type of drugs or anything of that nature? Because they were saying that it was so difficult to put the handcuffs on him, and he had this amount of energy, superhuman energy. And what they were describing was not my son, so I was very confused. I asked if I can go to the hospital. They told me no. They left. My husband and I, we got in our car and we went to go see if we could find Ty because he wasn't answering his phone or anything. When I asked them where my son was, they said nearby. Nearby? What is nearby? I got nothing from them. I think now that I'm actually putting things together, I believe they were trying to cover it up when they first came to my door. So around 4 o'clock in the morning, the doctors called from St. Francis and said, Mrs. Wells, do you know your son's in the hospital? And I said, yes. I was advised by the police officers. He said, why aren't you here? And I said, the police officers said that I couldn't come because he was under arrest. The doctor proceeded to tell me that my son had went into cardiac arrest and that his kidneys were failing. This doesn't sound consistent to somebody being tased or pepper sprayed. When my husband and I got to the hospital and I saw my son, he was already gone. They had beat him to a pulp. He had bruises all over him. His head was swollen like a watermelon. His neck was busting because of the swelling. They broke his neck. My son's nose looked like an S. They actually just beat the crap out of him. And so when I saw that, I knew my son was gone then. Even if he did live, he would have been a vegetable. So once I got to the hospital, all the police officers were basically whisked out because I heard that the TBI had taken over the investigation. And that was it. They spoke to us, asked a bunch of questions, but I knew something wasn't right. I just didn't understand why they stopped my son in the first place.
You said that you thought from the initial time when they contacted you that they were trying to cover up. Why did you think that?
Well, I didn't think that initially. As I started getting information, and information was coming to me, because they made it seem like the stop and the start and the stop of the was at a certain location, when actually they were less than 80 feet from my home.
You talked about what you saw. Now, I hate to bring this up, but I just have to be honest. You know Emmett Till?
Yes.
It's reminiscent of that.
I haven't seen the video.
I'm talking about what you saw when you went to the hospital.
Oh, yes. 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 That was terrible.
Dad, would you say? You agree with that?
Oh, most definitely. Because I'm the one who took the picture that's being circulated. And I took the picture because he was in such horrific condition. He shouldn't have been in that condition from pepper spray and tasing.
He was never conscious. That's
No.
what you said you believe if he lived, he would have been a vegetable.
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't know how that family how that mom can sit there and just talk like that. I would be losing my shit. You wouldn't be able to air me on TV. This is the picture that the dad took of him in the hospital. The cops said pepper spray and a taser. And they told her she couldn't go to the hospital and see him because he was under arrest. What if the hospital had not called his mother? He could have passed away without them even being able to go and see him one last time. They didn't want them at the hospital because they didn't want them to see this. How they thought they would hide it, I don't know. But they did not want them going to the hospital and seeing this. No mother should have to see this. Now, I watched the videos, like I said. I've watched them several times, and it was horrible. But until I heard that mom speak about the injuries that he had, I had no idea it was that bad. I knew it was bad, but I didn't know they broke his neck. I had no idea how misshapen his nose was, how swollen his head was, that he had gone into cardiac arrest. And I've got the videos, and I was going to show some of the videos, but after listening to that mom talk, I can't put myself through it again. And I'm not going to put you through it again. And if you want to watch them, they're out there, but I can't do it right now. I don't feel good, and I'm emotional, and I can't do it again. But what I can do is I can show you this picture. Hang on. Sorry, my computer's not cooperating. This is a still from one of the body cams. That's Tyre on the ground. So after they got done beating him, and he's writhing in pain on the ground, and he can't move, they proceeded to drag him over to this car, this police car, and prop him up against it, sitting, with his back against the car and his legs out in front of him. And he starts to fall over. He cannot stay up. He starts to fall over, and they pick him up and he falls over. And this is one of the times that he fell over. And you can hear in the body cam, they're like, you need to sit up, man. He can't. He can't. And at one point, you can see him trying to raise himself up. And the firefighter, paramedic, whoever is like, you can't go anywhere, man. You can't go anywhere. And all I can imagine is that in his mind, he wanted to go home. He was yelling for his mom. And it broke my heart. You hear a grown man crying out for his mom. And my boys will tell you they're mama's boys. And all I can think is something happening to them. And them laying there yelling for me. And I'm not there. He loved his mom so much, he has a tattoo of her name on his arm. And she mentions it in one of the interviews. You can see it right there under the ventilator tube. That's his mom's name on his arm. But after they beat him and they dragged him over to this car, they almost actively ignore him. They kind of are all just wandering around, right? And they come over and they shine lights on him every now and then. And like I said, the fire department shows up, and I don't really see anybody rendering any aid until the ambulance gets there and you see the stretcher come out finally. Not even so much as to give this guy a sip of water. But when you listen, so on one of the body cams, well, before I get there, let me introduce you to this asshole. So on the poll camera footage, they're beating him. This guy comes in and decides that he needs to kick him in the head a few times for whatever reason, I don't know. And then out of nowhere, here comes this complete ass clown with an asp. If you don't know what an asp is, it's like the police baton, but it's, what is it made of, babe?
It's a collapsible metal.
It's a collapsible what?
Metal.
Yeah, it's made out of, it's solid metal, and it collapses. And you see it, you know, it looks like they're a baton. Well, you take it out and you kind of go like this, you fling it, it gets really long. So he comes out of nowhere like Billy Badass, whips out his asp, and says, I'm going to baton the F out of you, and proceeds to do it while he's on the ground. Well, Billy Badass with the asp at some point loses his body camera. And we can still hear, right? We can hear Tyre moaning, yelling for his mom. But we can hear all these dirtbag cops talking. Well, eventually, Mr. I'm gonna beat the F out of you puts his body cam back on for a minute. Then you see him purposely remove it and set it like on top of a car or on the trunk or whatever. When he does that, he proceeds to make the statement that he was hitting him. He was, I don't remember the exact terminology, but he was going at him with full haymakers. Like, he was beating this guy. And he was basically like, yeah, this guy's like rocking with these punches and he can really take a punch. And I'm just wailing on him with full on haymakers and all this stuff. And then after he gets done with that statement, he puts his freaking body camera back on. But they're going around and they're talking like, you know, they just made some fantastic bust or something, like so nonchalant, like everything's normal. This is just another freaking day. And almost like they're trying to one-up each other. They're proud of themselves. They're proud of each other. Like talking about, oh, well, I hit him with this and I did that. And then you hear them. They're starting to build the freaking narrative. So on the radio, somebody asked them, like, why they pulled him over. Nobody has a response. Not one of these people. And at one point, there were like 10 people standing around. Nobody has a response for why they pulled this guy over, which I found very interesting. But they start to build this narrative of, yeah, he was driving like crazy, like wrong way in traffic. He swerved at my car. You know, he did all this stuff, you know. Yeah. And then this one guy was like, yeah, he tried to grab my gun. He had his hand on my gun. Don't you think if that was true, we would see evidence of that in the video somewhere? But we don't. If there was something out there to support their narrative, wouldn't we have seen that? But we haven't. But they're building this narrative. Oh, this guy's high as F. This guy, he's on something. He's high as F. No, you beat the shit out of him, and he's out of his damn mind. Oh no, he was high as F. He's definitely on something. You know, that's why he ran and blah, blah, blah. You know, and I am sitting back getting satisfaction out of the fact that when they decide to pepper spray this guy for the umpteenth time, they're spraying each other in the freaking face. And they're like, I can't see, my eyes are burning and pouring water, you know. And I'm kind of enjoying the fact that the cops are miserable. Some guy's walking around with a stiff leg, limping because his knee hurts, and he's constantly bitching about, oh, my knee, my knee, my knee. What about Tyre? Dude can't sit up. You're trying to make him sit up. Now, come to find out, he's got a broken damn neck. And God knows what else. Went into cardiac arrest. His kidneys are failing. You haven't even given him so much as a sip of water. And I'm supposed to care about your damn knee? No, I'm sorry. No, I don't give a fuck about your knee. Sorry. Sorry for the language. Trigger warning is up there, though. But I'm pissed, you guys. Like, it's so hard to be a person that I'm like, I support the police. I support the military. And then you see shit like this happen. Right? It goes against absolutely everything that me and my family believe in. I don't care what this guy did. He didn't deserve that. And from everything that's coming out from including the chief of police, this guy may not have done anything at all. He may have just been driving home from taking pictures of the damn sunset. That's it. Trying to go home and see his parents and talk about the pictures that he just took. That may be the only thing Tyre did that night. Maybe he did drive erratically. I don't know. But does driving erratically equal this? I don't think so. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Okay. Here's another video from his amazing mother. I can't say enough about this woman because I'm mind blown. I'm mind blown. And the way she thinks about it is that, you know, what a wonderful person her son was. And that he was sent here on assignment from God. And now his assignment is over. And I'm just in awe of her. Honestly, absolutely in awe of this woman.
Also, Benjamin Crump, the family attorney. I thank you so much for joining us.
Thank
I really
you.
appreciate you. I don't know how you're holding up and able to do this under these circumstances, but we're certainly grateful that you're here.
Thank you.
How are you doing?
I'm doing as well as can be expected. It's very difficult right now. I'm still trying to understand all of this and trying to wrap my head around all of this. It's still like a nightmare right now. So,
just be honest. Listen, just conducting this interview, I'm a mama's boy. I was also a skater, as someone who knows a skateboarder growing up, and so I just can't imagine my mother dealing with this. When you walked in, you said, "Don, I'm not very good at this," and I said, "I got you." What do you mean you're not very? Who would be good at this?
exactly.
Who would be good at this?
I don't know, because this is very difficult. This is very difficult.
Yeah.
Yes.
How are you doing, Dad?
I'm hanging in there. You know, I have to be strong for the family. So we have other siblings that we have to be strong for also.
Did you hear the chief?
Yes.
What did you think?
I respected what she said. She's doing an excellent job, I feel. She's moving things along, and I like what she's doing.
She said that there is been nothing, that no evidence that they have found so far to substantiate why the officers stopped Tyre Nichols. No evidence so far. What did you make of that?
Don, I think it's telling because there's so much videotape America's about to see. Over an hour long video from a pole camera that catches a lot of the tragedy. All this body cam footage. If Tyre was driving reckless, we should see it. We're not saying that they're lying, but we should see it. And the fact that they can't show it to us further underscores why this was so unnecessary. So unnecessary. I have to say this. Because, like Ms. Wells said, how swiftly they moved in Memphis and how swiftly the district attorney brought charges against these 5 black police officers. This is now the blueprint for America. When you see officers committing crimes on video, then you can't tell us that you got to go 6 months, you got to go a year. No, when it was these black officers, we saw it move swiftly. And so think about all the ones we covered, Don. I mean, the Tamir Rices, the Michael Browns, Ahmad, all these cases took so long for Lando Castillo for them to charge. But here in Memphis, we now have the blueprint that it can be done swiftly and efficiently.
You're shaking your head in agreement. You're saying yes.
Yes. Because just the way they move so fast, I don't understand why they couldn't do that in other cases, but just to know that they moved as fast as they did lets us know that it can be done.
You wanted first-degree murder charges.
Yes.
You didn't get that.
No. The charges that were filed against those officers are good charges. Those are the charges that I feel will stick. And so I'm happy with the charges that the district attorney has set forth.
20 days since this happened.
Yes.
Without your baby.
Yes. Yes. This is hard. No, I don't have my baby. I'll never have my baby again. But I do know that he was a good person and that all the good in Tyre will come out. And so that's what keeps me going, because I just feel like my son was sent here on assignment from God, and his assignment was over. It's over. And he was sent back home. And God is not going to let any of his children's names go in vain. So when this is all over, it's going to be some good and some positive, because my son was a good and positive person. And that's what keeps me going.
Have you gotten any sleep?
Not really, but it's what it is.
How amazing is this mother? Wow. He had amazing parents, and apparently he was an amazing guy. And this, like I said, this isn't a race thing. This is a people thing. Yes, he was black. And yes, they, for whatever reason, have always been treated horribly, not just by the police, but the justice system in general, right? And I can relate a little bit as a Native American, because here in Oklahoma, you know, there are so many different Indian tribes, and our crimes, we get no respect. Like, our people, they don't care if, you know, is there a murder? If they solve it, you know, it doesn't really matter. But I'm by no means saying I understand on the scale of what they're dealing with at all. But this is a people thing, right? And I was raised in the military, so, you know, we were kind of exposed to every ethnicity, you know, in our assignments and travels around the world. And I was always raised that it's not about what you are on the outside, it's what you are on the inside. And by that I mean, it's, you know, it goes beyond your skin color even, you know. And it's not what you look like, and it's not necessarily what you present to the world, because some people can present as really good people. I care more about what you're really like on the inside. You can be a beautiful person on the outside and be very ugly on the inside, right? And these officers are very ugly people. And it sounds like Tyre was a very beautiful person. And it breaks my heart for anybody to get treated like that. I don't care what race, what gender, whatever. It's wrong. And my heart breaks for this family. But at the same time, I'm in awe of how they're handling it. And these guys, yeah, they were arrested, but they're out on bond. You know, from what I understand, the police union bonded them out. That's what they do. And they seem understanding of that because, you know, they want those officers treated just like, you know, like the white officers were treated for George Floyd. They want everything to be equal justice is what they're saying. But it's awful to think that they're out there. You know, it really is. The bulk of them, the 5, were in this special unit you heard them talking about. It was called the Scorpion unit. Hang on, let me find. And like their whole purpose was to stop like street crimes, right? Well, luckily, the Scorpion unit in Memphis has been permanently deactivated. And I think we can all be glad for that. The Memphis Police Department announced on Saturday that it has permanently deactivated its Scorpion unit after the death of Tyre Nichols. Members of the Scorpion unit were involved in the traffic stop on January 7th that officials say led to Nichols dying at a local hospital days later. Today, Memphis police officers assigned to the Scorpion unit, which stands for Street Crimes Operations to Restore Peace in Our Neighborhoods. That's not how you restore peace, I'm sorry. Met with Chief Carolyn C.J. Davis to discuss the path forward for the department and the community in the aftermath of the tragic death of Tyre Nichols. Memphis police said in a statement, in the process of listening intently to the family of Tyre Nichols, community leaders, and the uninvolved officers who have done quality work in their assignments, it is in the best interest of all to permanently deactivate the Scorpion unit. The officers currently assigned to the unit agree unreservedly with this next step. While the heinous actions of a few cast a cloud of dishonor on the title Scorpion, it is imperative that we, the Memphis Police Department, take proactive steps in the healing process for all impacted. 5 former Memphis police officers were fired after the incident and are being charged with second-degree murder, aggravated assault, as well as other charges. I, for one, was glad to hear that the Scorpion unit is gone. It sounds like they were formed with a good purpose, but somehow they became very misguided. And I completely agree with the chief saying it was like groupthink. It was mob mentality. And when you have these groups, you need to have a leader that's strong enough. When they see something like that happening, you need a leader that's strong enough to jump in there and be like, no, this is wrong, knock it off, and punish them appropriately. Consequences for your actions, right? And if you can't do that, then don't even start this damn specialty unit. If you don't have a strong enough leader to do it, then just don't do it. I guess, like I said, I've got the videos, but I can't. Right now, I just can't. Let's see, they've only been on the force 2.5 years before they, yeah, it is insane. It is absolutely insane. Like I said, I have the videos. They're out there if you want to see them, but right now I just can't stomach going over them again. But I do want you to watch one more video, an interview with his amazing family, and then we will talk a little bit more and kind of start to wrap things up, but please stay and listen to this because they are just such wonderful people. And I think it's important to listen to what Tyre's family has to say.
ABC's Elwin Lopez is in Memphis tonight, sitting down with the family of Tyre Nichols and their attorney, Ben Crump. This is a live interview, and this is really the first time the family has been able to react publicly to the police arrest footage. Elwin.
Thank you all so much for joining us, especially during this difficult time. This video has now been released to the public. This is the first time that many are taking a look at it. What do you want people to take away from this?
I just wanted them to see why they charged these police officers with murder. This video illustrates exactly what happened on those streets that night. This also justifies our son showing that he was no threat to them. For a individual to weigh 150 pounds and to be brutalized by 5 officers is unheard of, and we needed the public to see it so that they could make their own judgment.
Mrs. Wells, you described this as God's assignment. Can you tell me more about that?
Well, I just feel like my son was sent here on an assignment. His assignment was fulfilled, and God took him home. Now, that's my belief. That's what I hold on to, and that's what keeps me going, because I'm not going to stop until I get justice for my son.
And you were telling me that he was watching the sunset, taking pictures when he was on his way home and stopped by these officers.
Yes. He was on his way home. He goes to Shelby Farms every weekend to watch the sunset. That's his passion. He either will go to skateboard or, you know, but he was on his way home.
And you told me that he was really close to his home when he was calling your name. I know you haven't taken a look at the video, but you told me that you felt something happening.
Yes, I felt a lot of pain and discomfort in my stomach. And at the time, I didn't realize what it was. But once I found out, then I just said that was my son's pain that I was feeling.
Calling out for you?
Yes.
During his last moments?
Yes.
You described to me also the moment that you saw him in the hospital, that you finally got a look at what they had done to your son.
Yes.
Tell me about that.
Well, as I told you earlier, I was told that he was only pepper sprayed and tased. However, when I got to the hospital, my son was beaten up. He had bruises all over his body. His head was the size almost of a watermelon. His neck was busted because of the swelling. His neck was broken. My whole son's body was just black and blue. They had him on all these breathing machines. He'd already went into cardiac arrest and his kidneys were failing. And so it just shocked me because I was told something else.
And then you arrived at the hospital and saw something totally different.
Totally different. And I knew then my son was already deceased. He was just, the doctors had him on the breathing machine.
But he wasn't breathing on his own?
No.
In the video, you see other officers outside of the 5 officers who were charged. Now, for the first time, we saw the first incident, also the second altercation. What do you want people to know about the full extent of the video, and what would you like to see happen to others who were there?
I feel that everyone there should be charged from both scenes, the first one and the second. Everyone. That's the paramedics, that's the fire department paramedics that came out, that stood around and didn't do anything. They're just as guilty. So everyone that was active in the whole scene, the whole video, should be charged.
And Mr. Crump, you were talking about the same thing, that some of the people there were not charged, and you would like to see charges brought against those officers and the paramedics?
Well, we certainly have questions now that we see this video and we can study it a little more. In the first 5 minutes of the release of the video, people started commenting on social media that there was a white police officer there that was engaging with Tyre, but we didn't hear anything about him. And so that raises a lot of questions. Why wasn't he charged with anything? And really the whole Scorpion unit, this unit should be disbanded. Attorney Ramanucci and Mr. Ali and us, our legal team, we were talking, and when you look at how this unit was operating with such brutality, such excessive force, how can you feel safe if you're a citizen in Memphis with people having that mentality that they can just go out here and trample on the constitutional rights of citizens in certain communities?
Well, we were talking as well about the officers' behavior after this incident and some of the things that we saw on camera. Can you describe that for me?
It was unacceptable.
Will you hear laughing?
It was unacceptable. For you to be officers that are supposed to serve and protect the community, to not just brutalize him, but still, after the fact, you're walking around laughing, smoking cigarettes, like it's, like he said, it's like normal. Like, you know, we get away with this all the time, so this is just normal behavior for them.
Yeah, and they were so nonchalant about everything. You have a man literally laying down there in distress, dying, and people are just talking like this is business as usual. Had Tyre not succumbed to his injuries, how many more times would they have done this, and how many times have they done it before? I mean...
And you said you've received calls about that.
Yeah, my office has received 2 calls now from citizens saying that they were attacked by this Scorpion unit. One young man said he was just going to get a pizza, and when he was stopped, they came and attacked him at his car, cursing him out, threw him on the ground, put a gun to his head. And he said that he called the police department twice trying to report them, and he never got a call back. And you want to believe that had they responded back to him, that Ravon and Rodney's baby might not have been killed.
And I also, yesterday I went and got my car washed, and the guy recognized me, and he said, man, that same unit stopped me, and I had a warrant, so I ran. He said when they caught up with him, they broke his ribs. The same unit. So I'm sure there's a bunch of stories out there, you know, and I'm sure in the next couple of days, a lot of people will come forward.
I know there's going to be a review of these specialized units, that's what they're called. Do you think that this unit will actually be disbanded?
I think it has to be. I mean, with this fragrant pattern and practice of brutality, how can you justify letting them continue to operate? I mean, when I saw this video before America saw it, I kept saying that it's going to remind people of Rodney King, the video from 1992. But as the police chief said, in many ways, it's worse because Rodney King survived. Tyre did not survive. And this was an organized unit of brutality. You know, this was a special unit who seemed that they could operate with impunity. I mean, it certainly looks like that from the video and the things they were said. When you watch the video, the supervisor says, well, you know, what did you stop him for? And they come up with this story talking about, well, he was driving the wrong way in traffic. If he was driving the wrong way in traffic, everybody would have been reporting that.
Well, the police chief was also saying that that claim of reckless driving, that there was no evidence of that in any of the videos that she saw.
Yeah, and thank God for the video, especially with the audio. And I know you hadn't seen it. We're talking about it because it's just important to say why you got to disband the Scorpion unit. At one point on the radio, you hear somebody say, what did you stop him for? Or what did he do? And nobody responds.
And they also said, one of the officers that bothered me was that my son tried to take his gun on that video.
He said it multiple times.
And right, he said it multiple times. And my son never tried to take his gun. I mean, there's no evidence of that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, you certainly can't see that in those videos.
Right.
And that may be something that they say to try to justify doing what they do. And so everybody needs to analyze every part of this video because it is a telltale sign of an institutionalized police culture who tells them they can get away with it. And we can't let them get away with it here in Memphis, and we can't let them get away with it in any other case, regardless if the officers are black or white.
It's a systemic issue.
I'd like to say is when I said initially that they messed with the wrong family, they did not know the character of the person who they were brutalizing. They did not know that he was such an outstanding citizen, you know, because I guess they always are dealing with criminals or whatever. But they did not know that Tyre had such a beloved following, so to speak. So
and beautiful soul.
And a beautiful soul. And a beautiful soul. And raised by a beautiful woman who raised a beautiful human being.
Yes.
And they didn't know this. You know what I'm saying? So they didn't know the repercussions that was going to come behind what they did, their actions.
Okay.
And speaking of that, Mrs. Wells, what will you miss the most about your son?
Everything. His beautiful smile. His just whole sense of humor, you know. He was just a bright spot. He didn't like, if he thought I was mad at him, that would just hurt his poor heart. Even at 29.
Hello, parents.
Well, you never want to disappoint your mama.
Yeah, and he would come in the house and, hello, parents, you know.
And then he used to always want to come over and give her a big hug.
And he even put my name on his arm. I mean, what child puts his mother's name? I mean, unless she
Someone who really loves his mother.
Unless she was deceased or something, you know, and I'm still alive. But he put my name on his arm, and so I'm just gonna miss my baby. He was just a sweetheart.
Thank you all so much for joining us. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It gets me. It gets me. So yeah, just to kind of recap, like I said, 2 Shelby County Sheriff's deputies were seen on the body cam videos, and the pole cam video showing up at the scene. That I guess it wasn't known that they were there or whatever till this was released. But after the release, it was seen, and the Shelby County Sheriff's Department has suspended 2 of their deputies because they were seen fist bumping on the video after what happened to Tyre. And I think I heard that the firefighters may have been suspended, relieved from duty, whatever. Haven't heard anything about the EMS, the paramedics, but I did hear about the firefighters and the sheriff's deputies. And the biggest news, I guess, of the day is about the Scorpion unit being done. And I would have to say Memphis is probably safer without them. They were supposed to be bringing peace to the neighborhoods, and it sounds like they were doing the exact opposite, not just with Tyre, but as you heard in that interview, with others as well. So, not a bad thing that Scorpion is done. I think they need to do a review of all of their special units, and moving forward, hopefully they can do better. And like I said at the beginning, and Wild Iris brought up again in chat, this is awful, but not all cops are like this. So I hope the anti-cop thing doesn't start up again. And that's really important to remember, that there's good and bad in every profession, every group of people. And I know law enforcement as a whole will be judged by this, just like they have been for all the incidents in the past, and that is unfortunate. But I think they know it's going to happen, fair or not. And we can't hold all of our officers responsible for what this group of dirtbags did in Memphis. We can't. Punishing good officers, like here, like I'm in Oklahoma. Sorry, I'm starting to lose my voice. You know, if I hold it against Oklahoma City or Tulsa or whoever, my local police, whatever, how does that equate to justice for Tyre when this happened in Memphis? Burning down Main Street isn't going to bring justice for Tyre. Not just here in Oklahoma. I mean, yeah, if you destroy Oklahoma City, what does that prove? Well, even destroying Memphis isn't going to prove your point. Memphis knows you're angry. We don't need to add to it by damaging innocent people's businesses and livelihoods. I don't think that's what Tyre's family would want. They have said as much. Peaceful protest is what they want. Injuring other people or possibly getting yourself injured in the process of protesting isn't going to help anyone here. By all means, protest, but keep it peaceful. We don't need all of this violence and destruction. You know, he has left a beautiful legacy behind him and in his family, and let's not tarnish that with the violence and destruction. Let's focus on making things better in Tyre's name and getting justice for Tyre. And I'm hoping part of that justice will be seeing more arrests made in the future. Because like I said, everyone that was in those videos, if they weren't helping Tyre, they're part of the problem. If they didn't step in to stop or try to aid him in some way, they are part of the problem and they deserve to be charged with something. So I hope to hear of more arrests coming down the pike. But like I said, I know this video, I may lose subscribers. I guarantee you I won't gain any from this video, but it needed to be discussed. It needed to be said. I was not comfortable. Like I said, I've been sick, so I haven't been making videos, but I came to you today in my pajamas because I felt like this was something important that needed to be spoken about, that needed to be addressed. I wasn't going to just let it go. And I thank you for joining me for a little over an hour on your Saturday to listen to my thoughts on the situation and watching the interviews with his amazing family. And please keep them in your thoughts and prayers, his family and the whole community of Memphis, but especially his wonderful family. They are amazing, and I hope that the strength that they've found remains. But yeah, that's really all I have. like I said, thank you for joining me. Give this a thumbs up if you don't mind. And you can share it on social media and put hashtag justice for Tyre Nichols. And yeah, let's just hope for a positive outcome in this, that he does get the justice that he and his family deserve. If you like my channel and my coverage, then I hope you will subscribe and stay tuned. And like I said, I don't expect you to agree with me, and if you don't, that's absolutely fine. I hope you won't unsubscribe just because of this video, but if you do, that's your prerogative. So everybody, try to enjoy the rest of your weekend. I'm going to get off here and rest my voice and eat some lasagna and try to have an enjoyable evening. And I will be...
Amazing husband is cooking.
That my amazing husband is cooking for me. And I'm going to make a video for you tomorrow, as long as my voice cooperates. And I will see you all then.